What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk Marvel every single day, and we got a new trailer for the Thunderbolts that was just shown at the Super Bowl. If you only caught the trailer that was shown during the commercials at the Super Bowl, that was only a part of the full trailer released online to Marvel Studios' YouTube account. And they have finally showed us what the Thunderbolts are really going to be about and who the main villain is of the film. And it is indeed Sentry. Well, kind of, and we'll get into that in just a bit. But we did get our first look at Sentry. And for those who don't know, in the first trailer that we got, we were introduced to Bob. And Bob is indeed Sentry. Bob is Robert Reynolds. And he is a hero. Sentry himself is a hero, but there is a big twist to who Sentry is. There's another side of him that is called the Void. And the Void is the true villain of the Thunderbolts, and we actually get our first look at the Void in this trailer. The Void is a big shadowy monster that exploits people's greatest fears. But be sure to know that there is a difference between Sentry and the Void. In this film, it looks like they are going to be one and the same for a little bit, and I'll explain how that works in just a bit. But remember that the Sentry in Marvel Comics is actually a big hero. He has an incredibly complicated and dark story, but he has battled Doctor Doom before alongside the Fantastic Four. He was an ally to the X-Men. He is an equal to Reed Richards in the comics, and he is actually Spider-Man's role model. So make no mistake, despite having a very complicated history, the Sentry himself is a hero, but the problem is the Void. So biggest thing to know is a little bit of backstory about Robert Reynolds, aka Sentry, and the Void, how they came to be. Robert Reynolds, or Bob, was actually a meth addict who broke into a laboratory one day. In the lab, he discovered a golden Sentry serum, and he took it, unlike what Sam Wilson's Captain America is going to do in Captain America Brave New World, but I digress. He takes the serum and he gains the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. But here's the crazy part. This lab was actually a sub-project of the United States Operation Rebirth, which became an attempt to create the super soldier serum that Captain America was given, but to magnify its effects 100,000 times over. So that is basically the serum that Robert Reynolds took. Then from there, he became a great hero, having associations, like I mentioned, with the X-Men, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and more. But then came the Void. And the Void in the comics actually murders over 1,000,000 people in Manhattan, New York. And what was discovered was that the Void was actually the dark side of Sentry. It was Sentry's dark side being powered by the powers that he had given to him by the Golden Sentry Serum. So basically what ends up happening is Reed Richards, Doctor Strange, and the Sentry himself make it to where Sentry forgets that he ever existed, that he ever had powers, that he knew any of these other superheroes, and that's what they did. And when they did that, the Void went away. So essentially the Void is Robert Reynolds, or Sentry's own repressed dark persona, powered by the Sentry's powers. And that's what we are seeing here in this trailer. And that is going to be the main villain of this film. And that leads to what looks to be just a lot. But most importantly, America being concerned over this threat and not having the Avengers. This is where the Thunderbolts come in. The trailer opens up with Valentina Allegra de Fontaine saying, "Let's face the facts, the Avengers are not coming." Then it shows New York City being taken over by a shadow, which is the Void. And we can see here in this opening scene that Sentry, or the Void, is actually what appears to be killing a lot of people in New York City. They show us a very interesting power set that he has where he simply looks at these people and uses his powers to kind of shove them into the ground as a shadow. What this appears to be is a power that he has in the comics called Umbrakinesis, which is control over darkness. He also has Biokinesis, the ability to affect organic matter. He actually has just a ton, from psionic abilities like telepathy, to being able to fly, to being able to appear as a giant shadowy cloud. But what seems to be one of his biggest powers for this film in particular is the ability to kind of possess people and host them, which is clearly what he is doing here with Sentry. So with this threat, America is worried, and Valentina asks, who's going to keep our people safe? And Bucky is in the room for this, so enter the Thunderbolts. Now, in the first part of the trailer where Bucky has everybody tied up, this is after the scene that we got in the desert where the convoy approaches the Thunderbolts team when they're in Alexi's limo. Bucky comes and he takes out the convoy, but he also attacks the Thunderbolts. Not to kill them, but to essentially get answers about what they were all doing in scenes that we saw from the first trailer where they go to a compound. They were all given a mission to take somebody everybody out at the compound, but they all run into each other, and there they meet Bob. And from the looks of it and based off of what we know, whoever sent them there, most likely Valentina, tried to have them killed as well. Like they wanted to kill everybody, the Sentry and the Thunderbolts. No loose ends there. So Bucky hunts them down, basically thinking that Valentina is kind of sus, in which she is. So he gets them and he asks them what's going on. And that's how Bucky becomes a part of the team. We can also see him there at the hearing that Valentina is at, where she says, the Avengers aren't coming, we need a new team. Bucky obviously takes this personally because one, he of course was there for a lot. Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, of course Captain America the Winter Soldier, and two, his best friend was Captain America, the leader of the Avengers. So not only was he an Avenger, but his best friend who was Captain America, leader of the Avengers, is now gone. So he probably feels a lot of sense of responsibility to essentially carry a new team of superheroes forward, and he found his group of misfits. He explains that there is a big threat out there, and once again we see New York City being overtaken by a shadow, aka the Void. So he tells the Thunderbolts, which in this scene consist of Red Guardian, Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp, US Agent John Walker from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, who has taken the Super Soldier Serum and at one point in time, very briefly, was Captain America, and of course Yelena Belova, adopted daughter of Alexei Shostakov, aka the Red Guardian, and adopted sister of Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow. Yelena is confused and she says, wait, us? We're going to help you? And that is kind of one of the main points of this movie. These people aren't exactly heroes. They're people who have done bad things and might have had bad luck in life, so they're not exactly evil, but they're not exactly heroes. So that's why she's a little bit confused here. Plus, as they make a point of showing us in this trailer, they don't exactly have, well, typical superhero powers. Keep in mind, Bucky has the Super Soldier Serum, so does Red Guardian, and so does John Walker. Although, Red Guardian doesn't exactly have the best Super Soldier Serum, like he has a Russian knockoff version of it, but still, he does have a form of superhuman strength. And Ghost obviously has the ability to phase, so the only people who truly don't have any type of powers at all are Yelena Belova and Taskmaster, who we actually see a decent amount of in this trailer. She's not in the opening scene, but we get some good shots of her in this trailer. Again, not too much involved with the scenes that we're seeing in the trailer, so perhaps she does die. We're not sure about that. We'll have to wait and see. Now, Bucky asks why you got some place to be, and the Red Guardian says, I love that guy, and he starts laughing hysterically. Again, that is because the Red Guardian actually took a form of serum himself, and he's always kind of idolized the Winter Soldier. He wanted to be the Captain America of his home, the Red Guardian. And in another trailer that we've seen for the Thunderbolts, he even asked Bucky, which serum did you get? Kind of trying to bond with him. You know, he has a serum as well, and Bucky says, you know, the normal one, Hydra. And keep in mind, like I mentioned, the Sentry has a serum as well that was derived from the Captain America serum, so that's a big part of this movie. So the trailer says they're not super, and Yelena says none of us can fly. And that is because the Sentry, he can fly. So she's most likely talking about how they could defeat this villain when none of them can fly. But I love her line where she says, so what, we all just punch and shoot? And yeah, that's what they do. That's what they're about. That's why I'm so stoked for this movie. They're a group of misfits who are forced to work together to do a specific mission, but come out heroes. They show us a lot of action in this trailer, which I love, but the monologue that we hear is about them overcoming their past and not letting their past define them, but overcoming their past and actually becoming heroes who could save innocent people. So that's what they do, but they have to fight Sentry in order to do that. And we actually see some of his powers in this trailer, and I gotta say, they definitely are super underpowered. The Sentry shows up to the old Avengers Tower, which Valentina bought, and he makes quick work of the Thunderbolts, and he says, you thought you were gonna be some great saviors. You can't even save yourself. And we see some of his powers, his superhuman strength as he rips off Bucky's vibranium arm and throws it to the ground along with the other Thunderbolts, as you can see there. We see his psychic powers as he grabs Red Guardian using telekinesis and throws him out the window, and obviously he can fly as well. So right away, a very overpowered threat. They even come out of the building saying, we can't do this. But the Red Guardian gives him a pep talk and says, we are the Thunderbolts. But it doesn't seem like anybody else kind of agrees with that name, which is why I think there's that asterisk. Or at least that's one reason that it has the asterisk. Now, at the end of it all, I do think the Thunderbolts are going to be able to defeat the Void by essentially separating Sentry and the Void. Then Sentry comes in at the end to help, and that's where they get a lot of their power from. Or they could kind of take a page from the comics and simply seduce sedate him. If he's knocked out, then the void should be gone. And they could erase his memory to get that done as well. And they're going to have to, because obviously he's way too overpowered to simply walk up to and knock out. But in the end, I believe that's one of the two ways that's going to be kind of their only options to actually defeat him. But that is the breakdown for the new Thunderbolts trailer. Please go ahead, let me know your thoughts about it in the comments down below. Are you excited for it or are you not? This is actually one of my most anticipated Marvel movies kind of ever. Looks like it's going to be really great. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest MCU breakdowns or news, rumors, or leaks. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.